Hey guys, welcome back to Bad Takes. No Blake tonight, so there won't be any actual bad takes on the podcast. But nevertheless, the NFL draft is officially over. It was a surprising weekend. We had a couple guys fall out of the first round. Shedeur obviously fell out of the first four rounds. The Jaguars made a big trade. Giants have a new face to the franchise at QB. A lot of exciting stuff tonight. Me and Aaron are going to go over everything. We're going to go over our draft winners, our biggest surprises, and our overall grades on the Niners and the Patriots drafts.
Yeah, and if you guys want a little bit of analysis on every single team's draft grade, we went ahead and made a TikTok. That'll be down in the description. So we'll go ahead and mention that again at the end of the video, but go ahead and check that out to go check our little brief analysis of all the teams, all 32 teams we got there. Some teams longer analysis than others. I'm pretty sure most of you can figure out why. All right, biggest surprise for me. Let's just knock it out. Let's get it over with. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the Browns right now. But it's the fall of Shedeur Sanders. Do you want to begin? You want me to begin? Because I feel like we could spend an hour going on about this.
I'll be pretty quick with my Browns analysis. I was very surprised and disappointed that they traded out of the second overall pick to go and not take Travis Hunter. They came and got Mason Graham, who's still a great player. But that was honestly really surprising. Shout out to Jacksonville for trading for the best player in the draft. I think when there's a generational talent, a guy that was proven, at least at the college level, to be able to play both sides of the ball at a very high level, you go and get that type of player. And for the whole Shador Sanders sweepstake, kind of tying into the Browns, I'm not entirely sure why Shador fell out of the first four rounds. I had him as the second best quarterback in the class. I thought he was ahead of Jackson Dart. I think he's miles ahead of Milrow and Tyler Slough and Dylan Gabriel. Like I think he's way better day one NFL ready prospects compared to them. And it just doesn't make sense on why he fell so far. There's a lot of guys in drafts that come in with character concerns and they have egos and things like that. But for so many, and even the Steelers, for so many needy football teams needing a quarterback, to not take the best quarterback available just doesn't make sense for me. To if you really think it's that bad of his interviews or whatever the case is, obviously we don't truly know, but it was just such a big surprise for me to really see someone who I graded 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago as a top three draft pick that he was probably going to go Cleveland or go to New York before the Russell Wilson news. For him to just not go at all in the first 2 days was insane.
Yeah, the whole Shador stuff is just, I don't know. It sucks. I feel like Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, forced that pick. I believe Dylan Gabriel was the guy they wanted all along. And Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski went ahead and jumped up to grab him. Well, I don't believe they traded up to get Dylan Gabriel, but they took him a lot higher than most teams would have taken him. It's kind of like, well, we're gonna go get our guy now, and that was to kind of send a message to Haslam like, we just spent a third round pick on this guy. He's our guy. The whole Shador thing, man, it sucks. It's a pretty crappy situation all around. Obviously, if you have a bad job interview, a job's not going to hire you. Obviously, it's a little bit different in the NFL. I don't know how deep these teams go into doing the private investigator stuff. I'm sure with players that have more particular character concerns, legal trouble, it probably gets a lot more intense. Whereas Shador, I don't think I don't see the issue with him, to be completely honest with you. And not to the level, I think Mel Kiper having a meltdown over teams passing on Shador is a huge issue. I do agree that Shador was going to bring in a media circus, as did Manziel, as did Tebow, and there were definitely teams that had Shador graded as a day two, day three esque prospect. And just looking at like this from a team building standpoint, we won't use the Browns as an example because their quarterback room is bad. But let's say you're the Steelers, for example, and there's an arguable chance that Mason Rudolph he could start games for you and win games for you. are you going to bring in this backup that's just going to have all these issues? The Giants are another one where you have two guys that are going to start over Shedeur, bring in all of these, this whole media circus, a major market in New York, just be a whole mess. So I think that's why teams really passed on him. As for Shador's talent, I agree with Darick. I think he was the second best quarterback in the draft. I hope he wins the job in Cleveland, and I hope he goes out there and kills it for them. But at the end of the day, none of us are NFL GMs. We aren't in those war rooms. We don't know what the conversations they have are. It's just, I think he's a great player, has potential to be a good player in the league and win some games. And it's kind of funny that we are recording this later because there have been a lot of teams that have came out that said, the Steelers in particular said, yeah, he wasn't on our board. We're looking to 2026 to get our guy. So
Yeah, I think that's that's crazy. Not trying to improve your QB room
True
and
Aller's horrible, but
saying,
you can go with it.
we're gonna suck for a year. I don't care. I'm gonna be a bad football team because my guy's in next year's class. Poverty.
Poverty.
It's not guaranteed that Shador is gonna be an absolute stud, and it's also not a guarantee that Will Howard's gonna be bad. But if that's true that they came out and said our quarterback wasn't in this class and we're gonna wait till 2026, it's just telling your fans that you're gonna be uncompetitive this year in the hopes of getting somebody.
Yeah,
And I don't know.
my kind of
I don't
feel
know.
for Shador is I see him as an Andy Dalton esque type of player. Some people are gonna be like, "How dare you say that? You compare him to Andy Dalton?" Hey, Andy Dalton had a lot of success in Cincinnati. They went to the playoffs often. Yeah, they never went to the next level, but now he's kind of having a nice, just long NFL career as a backup. You can't hate that. When you look at I think you could argue that Andy Dalton has been a successful NFL player because he's had a long career. He's made a lot of money. I don't think he's ever won a playoff game. At least as a starter, he hasn't won a playoff game. I'm not saying Shador's never going to win a playoff game, but what I'm trying to say is that we can't look at this as because Shador he could still have a good NFL career. And the interesting talking point was how is he going to handle all this? You're projected, into the year, you're probably QB1 going into the college football season. Cam Ward, phenomenal year, 44 touchdowns, just a great year for him. Broke some records at Miami. And Cam Ward is a great example of a guy who's worked his ass off and, earned that first overall pick honor. Not saying Shador didn't do that. Shador had a good season. He was better this year than he was the last year at Colorado. He also had improvements with his receivers and his offensive line. And I still think Colorado's running game wasn't the greatest. But Shador, to me, I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL. I think he's going to have a solid career. I think that he has good potential. Andy Dalton, Brock Purdy, he's going to make some plays where you're going to be like, yeah, yeah, I saw this on film, but he can make a couple plays. Is he going to be game changing to the level of like a Josh Allen or a Lamar or a Patrick Mahomes? I don't think so. I'll be honest, I don't think Cam Ward is either. I don't think anybody in this class is either. This is kind of a weak class. But I think these guys could all have good, long NFL careers and make a bunch of money, win a couple playoff games, and hey, you never know. You hit, you know, you just can get lucky and everything can fall into place at the right time. And maybe, you just go on a run and win a Super Bowl. But, his fall is historic. Everyone's probably sick and tired of hearing about it. Social media is super divided on it. But Shador, like, good luck to you, bro. I think the Cleveland job is yours to lose. And I hope you go out there and you kind of turn this Browns franchise around because they were the lovable losers. Then they traded for the worst human on the planet. And now I can't speak for Derek and Blake, but hate watching the Browns is one of my new hobbies, especially when that unspoken man is playing. Pretty high point towards
Yeah,
Achilles.
I'm not gonna dive all into that, but I'm a big fan of Thor. I think he can be a good prospect. I'm gonna wrap it up really quick here, but His fall was was historic. It was the talk of the town for like the first 3 days. Mel Kiper had a huge meltdown about
So
it, talking about how the
embarrassing.
NFL can't grade prospects. Overall, I think Shedeur landed in the best spot for him in terms of competing for an NFL job. I think he went to the best place. He went to a team that needs a quarterback. He went to a pretty decent offense, a great defense, hard division, yes. Kevin Stefanski's a great QB coach. I think if anyone's going to maximize Shedeur's potential, it will be Kevin. He'd be one of the guys you'd want to go play for. He'd be one of the coaches that would maximize the QB talent. But that's enough of Shedeur. What other big surprises that we kind of didn't expect going into the draft that kind of took was a takeaway for you?
Um, I like what the teams with a few picks did. Atlanta is a good example. Let me go ahead and pull up their draft class right now. I like what
Love the
they did
Jalen Walker.
here. I like the Walker and Pierce picks. Xavier Watts. I don't need to comment more on that. Billy Bowman Jr. Don't know too much about him, but he's obviously one of the top safeties since he's probably like the fourth or fifth safety. He could have been fourth or fifth. He's probably like the sixth or seventh safety off the board. Then they go grab a tackle. I mean, for essentially having four picks in the top 120 and going all defense and really addressing their weakest spots, I think that's pretty good. I believe they grabbed Kobe Bryant as an undrafted free agent. Don't know if he'll exactly go on the opposite side of AJ Terrell, but just for having no picks, I think that they have put themselves in a position to be successful next year. Their offense really doesn't need many compliments, but you know what? I'm actually gonna, besides the Falcons, let's go ahead. I'm gonna talk about all the NFC South teams because besides the Saints, I'm not gonna talk about them. But where's Carolina at
The
on this
Saints draft
list?
was a dumpster fire.
Yeah, we'll talk about them in Biggest Losers later. But I like this draft class here for the Panthers. As you'll see, you guys check out the TikTok. The only pick I'm not crazy about is Trevor Etienne. Derek's going to agree with me on that. If Blake was here, I'm sure he would agree. Trevor Etienne, he just never flashed to me. Like his brother, I felt was game breaking when he was at Clemson. Trevor just never, he just seems like the fast, kind of speedy pass catcher back. I know he could be a bit more physical, but he just doesn't, he's probably a temporary type of fix since they don't have Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks is so dynamic, man. I hope he can come back from that ACL injury stronger than ever. And just, dude, him and Chuba would be an awesome 1-2 punch. They'd be their own version of Sonic and Knuckles. Enough about that, though. I like the Tat pick. I like Leggett. I know Derek's not the biggest fan of Leggett. So I like Tet. He does give him more of a big body framed receiver, even though that's exactly what Leggett is. But I like Tet. Love the two SEC defensive end picks. You got these guys on the opposite sides of each other. So I think these guys are going to be killer, help boost up a horrible defense. Lathan Ransom, good player. He's a little bit handsy, had that at Ohio State, kind of a pass interference type of guy. I think they could coach it out of him. He'll be a solid option there. And they picked up a safety from the Raiders. It wasn't Marcus Epps. It was don't remember who the other safety they got from the Raiders was, but that'll be a nice little tandem there. Cam Jackson, he's going to go ahead and feast there in the middle. I like Mitchell Evans, big fan of him. But Jimmy Horn, that has a chance to be a really sneaky good pick. Maybe he kind of takes over for Adam Thielen, probably a wide receiver four, special teams
Morig.
type of guy.
Sorry, no, that's it was Morig. Trevor
Oh,
Mohig or
Trayvon
Morig.
Mooring, yeah, that
No, I
makes
completely
sense.
butchered it. Yeah, that's
He's
what
a
it
good
was.
player too. Carolina, I like this class, dude. I think they killed it. They're obviously what we have to understand as fans, and as happy as I have been about the Patriots picks, I'll get into this a bit more. But this is good progress. This team is not going to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to go to the NFC title game. If they can win 8 or 9 games next year, this draft class is a 100% a success. And then lastly, I want to talk about Tampa Bay. And I love this draft class from them. I think they did a lot of good stuff here. So Emeka Ibuka, that caught me off guard. I was kind of like, what the hell? Why are they drafting him? But let's look at it. Chris Godwin has had a couple major injuries, coming off another major injury. Mike Evans ain't getting any younger. Jalen McMillan showed up at the end of last year. Ibuka is about as sure-handed of a receiver you get. He does everything well. I like that pick. Give Baker a hell of a player that he's going to keep growing with, get more comfortable with. great pick. Benjamin Morrison. You could not get a better human being to be. Dude, I was getting emotional when I was watching his video of him getting a call from Tampa Bay from Jason Litch. But he's going to be awesome. He is going to fit right in. I don't know exactly if he's going to go ahead and be cornerback one, but he's going to do a great job there, and he's going to have his hands full. There's a lot of good receivers in the NFC South. Jacob Parrish, I like this guy. Thought he visioned him more of a nickel slot guy. He might be CB2, kind of depending on their cornerback room situation, which would be BMO, would obviously be CB1. David Walker, this could be a steal, hell of a pass rusher. That's what they needed. Elijah Roberts to clog the middle. And then Tez Johnson, speedy guy, another guy. Kind of Jimmy Horn-esque situation where he's probably going to be wide receiver 5 on the depth chart, maybe only sees action on special teams or special packages. But I like what Tampa Bay did. I really do. Some people may wish they invested more heavily into the pass rush, maybe grabbed a safety.
You have your winners is basically the NFC South.
I like all three
Yeah,
NFC South drafts except New Orleans, but they're
yeah.
probably
New
betting
Orleans was a
on
dumpster.
they're probably betting on Arch Manning coming out of college next year. But I bet you he follows his uncle's footsteps and graduates first before he enters the draft.
Possibly, possibly. So I'm gonna go with my favorite. I'm not gonna go by division because I don't think the AFC. Well, the AFC West should have a great had a great draft. But if I had to just pick a team that I was gonna say that had an absolute A plus draft that was surprising, and I'm very excited to see what they do based off their offseason and overall just a 180 restructure is the Raiders. The Raiders going into the offseason had Aiden O'Connell and coach's name I'm blanking.
Minshew.
No, the Antonio Pierce.
Oh, AP,
Antonio
yeah.
Pierce was the head coach. Aiden O'Connell was QB1, and their Raiders were coming into losing a bunch of defensive players in free agency and not really having an identity anywhere on the side of the ball. Didn't have a quarterback, nothing. They came into the offseason, they traded for Geno Smith, they got Pete Carroll, they took Ashton Genty at 6, they took Beck at 58. Darian Porter, Caleb Rogers, the list goes on. I think they absolutely destroyed the draft. I would give them a straight A plus. The only reason why I would see this grade kind of coming low is that they kind of went QB in the sixth. Now I don't remember which it is, but one of them is like a hybrid receiver that's going to transition to receiver in the NFL, but he's still classified as a quarterback from what I was reading. But I think the Raiders did everything that you would want as a Raiders fan to see them do, and just as a football fan. They took a bell cow running back who's going to be able to relieve a lot of stress off of already a pretty mediocre offense, giving Geno Smith his best ability, which is to play action. Geno Smith is not going to carve defenses up, go 40 for 45 and throw for 500 yards. But if you give Geno Smith a good run game and he can drop back and his offensive line can protect him when there's a play action play, good luck. He's going to find his guy. Beck was a steal of a pick. He was a very good wide receiver falling into the second round. The Raiders were able to snag him at 58. I think that is a hell of a value. And just what the Raiders were able to do on their offense this year is coming to what it was to what it is now. This is now a team that looked like they were probably going to win 4 or 5 games. This team is a potential they can win 10 games next year. There's an argument that they can maybe make the playoffs. The only issue with the Raiders is that the Raiders play in the AFC West. Yeah, but so I really love the Raiders draft. Piggybacking off what they did last year, I think they hit it out the park. I'm super excited to watch this Raider team play football, and I really never thought I was going to say that, but I am hyped to watch them play. I cannot wait to see Ashton Genty. I cannot wait to see that Brock Bowers how they use him. I can't wait to see this offense coming together. I'm beyond excited.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the first team that really disappointed me, and we're gonna head over to the AFC North here. Let me pull up the Bengals draft for you guys to go ahead and see what they did and give my reasonings.
Aaron doing Bengal slander.
Number one Bengals fan in the world slandering the team. You guys know by now I don't like Shamar Stewart that much. So he's very similar to Miles Murphy in terms of profiling. And I think that's kind of the problem is they kind of just got a carbon copy of Miles Murphy. Can their new defensive coordinator, Al Golden, get these two guys to kind of meet that potential? If they do, hell, dude, they could be easily both double digit sack guys. Trey Hendrickson obviously is already a stud. Loves the Demetrius Knight pick. Dylan Fairchild. I mean, you can't go wrong with offensive line. Barrett Carter isn't too bad either. But we're really just, Taj Brooks there to kind of back up Chase Brown. Obviously, we saw Khalil Herbert was just atrocious last season. But I just don't like the Shamar Stewart pick. And I feel like they could have maybe benefited from going secondary because now you have two guys of the same player. And I did kind of give this criticism to the Giants with Carter and Burns, both um, weak side linebackers. They kind of struggle to set the edge against the run game. I mean, Shamar Stewart's got all the traits there. He has a great RAS score. We talked about that in the last episode, but just still sticking to that theme. I just don't love this draft from them. I think maybe they were a team that wanted Colston Loveland potentially. Chicago took them there at 10 to kind of just make their offense super overpowered and just play every game where they're like, all right, we're going to score 50 points. Hopefully our defense doesn't give up 51 points. But just I just would have liked different directions for them to have went in. Maybe Walter Nolan was their guy, and then he got taken. I know he's another bit more of a boomer bust, but I think this team could have taken a flyer on maybe Will Johnson or just anything to help him. Maybe even more so with the interior, get an interior pass rusher. Maybe that's how they vision Stewart to actually put him on the interior side of the ball. I think he's a little small for that, but Demetrius Knight Jr., dude's a straight tackling machine. I think he'll help very well. Him and Logan Wilson are going to kill it. But, they also didn't, they only invested one top 100 pick into the offensive line, which is also a little bit concerning given how Mims wasn't the greatest last year when he had to get slotted in. All in all, dude, the Bengals just expect Joe Burrow to get sacked 20 times, their defense to do the same as last season, and their wide receivers to put up absolutely insane numbers. So have fun betting on them. I would not put
Yeah,
money on the Bengals next year.
I think when you look at what the Bengals did last year with the roller coaster of the inconsistencies from the offensive line and how bad the defense was, picking at 17 and essentially a class that's not necessarily deep in star talent, but
A
deep
lot of
in
starters.
starter contributor talent. For you to take the biggest project defensive lineman at 17, I don't know. It's I don't know. There was many options. They could have gone a different way. They could have even went offensive line at 17. Like they they could have traded back. I would have loved to trade back there because I feel like their picks were gone. I feel like it was a Jalen Walker, Mikael Williams, Colston Loveland, maybe even a Kelvin Banks, Walter Nolan were kind of the guys they were kind of thinking about, and they were all gone, which was projected, but they were all gone. Maybe not Loveland, but I feel like they could have traded back to maybe like 24 or like 27 and then went and got like Simmons. Am I saying his name right? Simmons out of Ohio
Yeah,
State.
yeah, Josh Simmons.
They could have gone Josh Simmons. Let me see who won in the first round real quick. I'm about to get on a tangent.
So I'll go ahead and hop in
Um,
here back on the Bengals hate
they
train.
could have gone Barron.
Oh,
They could have gone Barron at 20. They need help at DB. Like wouldn't have been the greatest pick, but at least he's going to come into the NFL and play. We don't even, I don't know. Stewart is one hell of an athlete, and he has the potential to be one of the best edge rushers in the class. He has potential to be a very, very great player. But Cincinnati doesn't have the time or the resources or the window to take a developmental player and hope that he hits.
yeah,
This was a class that was loaded with talent that could play, and they chose the guy that we have the biggest question marks on, especially with Trey Henderson's contract coming up and with what their window right now with Burrow, it just feels like they had really good value and they could have really came out this draft looking like a winner and really setting up like what the Bills did, how the Bills went D line and they went to go attack the problem. aka the Chiefs, and the Bengals just dropped the
Well,
ball.
the Bills did a lot of that to make Ed Oliver's life a little bit easier because he's such a damn good pass rusher and good against the quarterback. So it's to really maximize his potential. And with the Bengals here, they're such an interesting team because they are the most fun team to watch. They're easily. I will fight everyone who disagrees with that opinion because there is nothing like having money on the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, your heart rate. Oh man, you have to go to the hospital after that. But they're just it.
Forgot Jimmy Campbell was on the board.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
know what he was. You're right. Jihad Campbell was still there.
Jimmy Campbell was on the board, and they said, nah, we don't need him. We don't need him.
I mean, they could. Donovan Izaraku was there. They. It just doesn't feel like.
There's some, I, re- I really think that a lot of guys that were on their board were not there, and they just said we had to come out of here with somebody, and they just it's like they went like this. They threw a dart. All right,
I
the pick
would
in.
say they threw a dart. I would say they took the guy with the most potential, with the highest ceiling, but they have already seen what his floor looks like with Miles Murphy. That's what's so crazy to me is you're taking such a high risk. They have so much money allocated to their offense, and they have the best offense in football easily, and they just I don't know, man. I want to see Joe Burrow hold up the Lombardi trophy, but I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know. Can they win the
Yeah, I
Super
don't know.
Bowl by not playing defense? I don't know if they can.
They,
The Eagles won
I
the
don't know if
Super Bowl because of how damn good their defense was. The Chiefs, have pretty much made it to the Super Bowl, the last three times because of how good their defense has been. The Niners 2 years
their
ago made
defense
it
is
because of
up.
how good their defense has been.
Yeah, I don't know. I obviously we don't hope for players to be busts. We want all of these players to come into the
I do if
league
it fits my
and
agenda.
completely.
Just kidding. I
All
hope
right.
he's good.
Well, I want the league to prosper with young talent.
I do too.
But I just don't think Shamar Stewart was the most logical pick for a team like the Bengals. And there was a couple guys on the board. They could have even went what's his name? Let me pull him up really quick, and then I'll be done.
I feel like there's another pass
I,
rusher we're missing.
they could have went Tyreek Williams and just at 20.
Eh,
I mean,
I
he
don't
has
know
more
if
of
I'll
a
do it.
floor that like he's gonna be able to produce. I don't know. I just didn't love the pick. Obviously, we hope it pans out. We hope that we're wrong, but that's Aaron's biggest loser.
I need somebody with locker room access and just a lot more access than what me, a normal dude, has to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I need to know, I need a book about all of this, all their decision making, because it's so fascinating to me how you have hit two of the biggest three. I'll include Higgins. Three of the biggest home runs in the draft in 2021 and 2020. And you were just like, you can't get it done. You know, I get the Chiefs are the Chiefs, but the Bengals are the only team that has beat them besides Philly and Tampa Bay. So it's like, come on. I know the Bills own them in the regular season, but the Bengals always give them a hell of a game too. Anyways, that's enough ranting about the Bengals. I'm not even a Bengals fan. They piss me off.
Dude, I was so my biggest loser, if it wasn't pretty obvious on who it was already, it's gonna be the Saints. When they took Banks at 9, I laughed. I don't know. I'm not sold on Kelvin Banks. I mean, I'm a Texas fan. Hook 'em, all that stuff. Like I like him as a player. I think they had more pressing needs at 9. I thought Shedeur was in play, but that's not why I don't like their draft. The Saints just the same thing with what the Bengals did. They just had premier picks. They had a lot of opportunity and a lot of holes, and they just dropped the ball with it. I mean, Calvin Banks, I get it, but at 9, Calvin Banks is not a top 10 guy. I feel like he was a reach. He is probably going to be a day one starter, but I'm just not sold on the Calvin Banks hype. I just don't see it. I just don't understand what's so promising about Calvin Banks. And then we come into the second round, and the New Orleans Saints, dealing with a current quarterback who already has injury issues, who might not play next year because of an injury issue. They said, with, let me get the number, the 40th overall pick, a top 50
He's
draft
gonna
pick,
butcher his last
said,
name,
you know what?
guys.
You know what sounds fire right now? What if there was a guy in the draft class that was 26 years old that came out of high school with Trevor
The
Lawrence
same
and
age
has
as
had
us.
three seasons and had se-
Sorry, Darick didn't want to know he's an unk.
and had three season-ending injuries. Yeah, that's my quarterback of the future. I hate the Saints. I'm not even a Saints fan. I feel bad for my boy. And
Coach Street doxed him.
I don't I don't know how he watches this team play, dude. I just don't get it. The rest of their draft, I mean, they went defensive tackle in the third round. They started going towards the defense. I don't hate their defensive picks. Like I like that they went defense, 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 defense. They got a backup running back in there. They finished the draft with an edge rusher, but just when you have these top 50, these top 100 picks,
They
you
had four
need
of
to
them too.
hit you need to hit these picks. These picks cannot be reaches. They cannot be what if, like they have to hit when you're a bad football team. I just feel like they didn't hit. I feel like they could have took someone way better at 9, they didn't. They could have took someone way better at 40 and didn't. They could have got this quarterback at a later point. He was not going to go anytime soon. Maybe. Maybe like a third round, maybe back end of the second, but the first in the top, no, no. First 8 picks of the second round? No. I feel like they just dropped the ball. They just same thing as the Bengals. Had so much potential, so much opportunity, so much to look forward to. And the Saints just said, nah, I'm good, bro. I don't really want to do this. Unbelievable.
Dude,
You would think I'm a Saints fan.
The Saints are funny because they
Let's just
are
talk
like
about how the Saints are in cap space prison.
prison, dude. It's
They are
hell. They're under the prison, bro. They're in
those they
hell.
are in the pits. They are in the pits. It is. I don't even want to talk about them. I'm done.
They're still
Let's
paying
talk
off
about
that
the
Super
Patriots.
Bowl. I'm
Let's
gonna get
talk
into the
about the
Saints. I'm gonna talk
Patriots.
about the Saints, and then we'll get into my funny team. I mean, the Kelvin Banks pick is what it is. You can't go wrong with offensive line. It's just not sexy. I kind of understand the Tyler Shog pick. I'm a bit higher on Spencer Rattler. I think he'll have his guys healthy next year. I would have liked for them to maybe grab another playmaker to help boost the offense a little bit. Their defense, I don't even know where to start. Do they even have like corners? You know, they could have remodeled the secondary. They could have got some guys that have high motors in the front seven, more in that linebacker box. And I just feel they didn't. Devin Neal's interesting. He can be a sneaky playmaker. He was a stud over at Kansas. But where does he fit in? You know, you got Kamara, you got Jamal Williams. So is he the third running back? Just not a lot of great decisions made. We're not even going to get into Verdant Broaden, but I don't know, dude. I think New Orleans had opportunities to start moving in the right direction, and they didn't. You know, the Derek Carr trade is looking worse and worse by the day, and it's just a tough situation in New Orleans, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they're picking number one overall next year, and when they take Drew Aller at number one because Arch didn't declare for the draft. I can't
I'm
wait
gonna
to
lose
sit.
it.
I can't wait to sit on this podcast and just rip Drew Aller. I can't wait to do it. I I will be hate watching Penn State. I like that running backs. I will be hate watching Drew Aller because that dude. Time to start looking for a job in finance, buddy. Anyways, let's get
All
on
right.
to the main event, baby. Let's get on to your 2026 picking 14th overall New England Patriots. I know there's a lot
14th
of
overall.
fans. There's a ton of optimism in the fan base, which is awesome with how negative everything has been the past couple of years. This whole draft process, dude, oh man, dude, it was something. It was. I hate the Will Campbell pick. I like the Will Campbell pick. I hate the Will Campbell pick. Let's get Ted. This, that. It was all over the place. My biggest concern with the Will Campbell pick is I was scared they weren't going to grab playmakers. This is where things get a little funny. I don't believe they didn't want Henderson at 38. I can't speak for Jaden Higgins. I was taught to believe that Jaden Higgins was their guy at 38. Nick Cazzero, former Pats exec, takes him. That's fine with me. Higgins, I don't think he fits the Model X role we're looking for. Well, then they wanted the guard from Arizona. I can't think of his last name, but Jonah. And oh man, oh the crash out would have been generational if they took him at 38. Thank you, Miami, for being piss poor drafting. We
I'm
got
not even gonna
my
try to say
guy.
his last name.
We got my guy, Trevion Henderson. Oh man, dude is an elite pass blocker. He is like a six offensive lineman. He is a home run hitter. He is going to put fear into the AFC East defenses. I gotta come up with a nickname for him, man. They're gonna have nightmares. He is going to be the Freddy Krueger of our division, man. He is going to rip apart the dreams of the Bills and the Jets and the Dolphins to having good seasons because when he comes to town, he is gonna run all over them. Oh, I love Travion Henderson. I love Kyle Williams even more, dude. This dude is awesome. He's got guys hugging on him, and he's making tough contested catches. Just cover, just no. He is gonna be. He can yak. He can do so much good stuff. I love him. I love he's going to learn from Stephon Diggs. I can't wait to see how creative Josh McDaniels gets with him. Love that pick. Jared Wilson, another pick I love. This is another one I love their day two, dude. I celebrated the day two of the draft like the Patriots won the Super Bowl. Jared Wilson, I wanted him. I didn't put him in my mock, but you know what? I thought he was going to go higher, to be honest with you. I thought Miami or someone would sneak up and grab him. So glad he fell to 95. He's developmental. He's going to be on the. He's going to compete with Bradbury for the starting job, which I'm completely fine with. Let's let him learn. Bradbury, after this year, I think he's on a 1 year deal, anyways, prove it deal. Wilson's going to come in and take that starting spot. Hell, he could probably play guard if they need him to. I like the Craig Woodson pick. Very interesting to see if Jabril Peppers ends up getting cut later on in the off season. But Craig Woodson, I think they're going to find stuff for him, nickel package, dime package. He's going to see playing time for sure. Joshua Farmer, I like him. He's just going to be able to come in there when Barmore and Milton Williams can't be to help clog up the middle. Keon White, that's why I like Farmer. He's going to be a nice rotational defensive lineman. Braden Swinson, man, another pick I absolutely love. I know I'm glazing the hell out of all of these guys. Him and Clavion Chaseon fighting for that other side pass rusher role. That's going to be awesome. I like it. I like the competition. And Chaseon had a great year, especially at the tail in Vegas. And I think Swinson, these guys, they're gonna wreak some havoc. Opposite of Anfrey Jennings and Harold Landry. I just love this draft. Uh, Boy Gallus, good kicker. I liked him. He was pretty automatic from Miami. Got a clip of him hitting a 50 plus yarder against Louisville. You know, hey, he's just got to make kicks. Can only judge a kicker by what they do on the field. He was a stud at Miami. Hopefully, continue in New England. Only concern is he's going from beautiful Miami, Florida to cold and snowy Foxborough, Massachusetts. Marcus Bryant, that's a nice pickup. Hopefully, he makes the team. And Julian Ashby, we just cut Joe Cardona today. Last guy from the Tom Brady days. So shout out him. You know, Cardona, love you. Hopefully he gets in the Pats Hall of Fame. Screw it. Best long snapper in Pat's history. Let's retire the jersey, dude. Let's hang number 49 up. And then Kobe Minor, defensive back. This guy, he didn't know too much about him. Came from Memphis. He was kind of a guy that no one really talked about. Wasn't on a lot of draft boards, Mr. Irrelevant. And then some of our guys that do, why am I blanking? Some of our journalists, some of the, what are those reporters called? Beat reporters. Some of our beat guys,
Journalist,
they found a
beat
bunch of
writers.
Kobe Minor. Yeah, beat writers. They found some Kobe Minor tape. I think he's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really interesting what he can do. I think they drafted him. This is gonna sound dumb as hell, but they definitely drafted him for a certain reason. I think they see something that they can do with him that clearly no other team saw. And dude, I think they're gonna put him in dime packages and just have him blitz. Like, I think that is what he's gonna do and play special teams because he's fast as hell. So I love this class, dude. I'm just so happy that I can sit here and say I think the Patriots finally nailed it in the draft. Kyle Williams and Trevion Henderson. I'm so excited to watch football again. I'm just not like where I'm cautious, where I'm like, oh, we got Drake May. We're gonna win some games this year, and I'm like, oh man, this team kind of sucks. But you know what? Where I'm like, they're down like a score or two. Time to go to the quad box and watch my fantasy players. I will be watching full screen Patriots football all season this year. That's how this draft class makes me feel. No quad box, no watching the fantasy players, no watching the bets. Just we're rolling. We're rolling this year, dude. New England's gonna kill it. Let's get into the Niners, man.
Finally. So I really like what the Niners did with their draft. I love the whole Robert Sala defensive, like we're gonna just build up everything that we lost. Where Mikael Williams at 11, edge rusher, probably the best edge rusher in the class. He's gonna be great at stopping the run and containing the edge, which the Niners lack in. I think he has pass rushing upside. Will the Niners be able to unlock that? We'll find out. If the Niners are able to unlock that with Williams and be able to get him to be a consistent pass rusher, with his already high floor of being able to stop the run and set the edge, slam dunk of a pick. Time will tell. Alfred Collins, a monster. The Alfred Collins pick had me hyped. The 49ers clearly last year, if you watched football, you saw how bad they were against stopping the run. Just getting just absolutely just torched. Just gut punched. It looked like a Niners defense we haven't seen in a long time. The identity of them being able to stop the run and plug in the middle was not there. Teams could do whatever they want if they had a half incompetent running back. Competent running back. Alfred Collins and Williams are going to fix that. Now, the third round picks are kind of where it gets a little interesting. I like Nick Martin. He is going to be healthy for day one. Obviously, he had an injury coming into the halfway through the season. He was able to actually do his combine and his pro day stuff. He's going to be day one ready. He has a lot of upside. I think he is going to be kind of filling in that Greenlaw role. He had like 140 something tackles the year prior to where he got hurt, and then he had like 40 something or something like that before he ended up getting hurt this year. But he's just a heat seeking missile. That guy just finds the football, and that's what I love about this draft class. The Niners just drafted guys that are quick, strong, and just find the football. They're not gonna sit here and be like soft. They just drafted football players. I know that sounds stupid, but like you watch football, you know what I mean when guys just look like they're not into it. Like the Niners drafted some dogs. I think Nick Martin is going to be able to play that linebacker spot beautifully next to Fred Warner. Let Fred Warner call the defense, play in pass coverage, do all the other hard stuff. Just let Nick Martin go out there and just find the football. Just let him go out there and just make plays, fill the gaps, blitz when he has to. He's not the best in pass pro, but he doesn't need to be great in the pass pro. He needs to be good at one thing, and that's stopping the run. Upton Strout, our little Kawan Williams. I love this pick. When the pick first hit the board, I was a little mad. I'm not gonna lie. I really wanted the Niners to go with like Membao out of Purdue, or I really like Chris Paul Jr., which the Rams got, which makes me so mad because now I can't like Chris Paul Jr. But there was a couple guys on the board I wanted to see the Niners go after. But honestly, the more that I kind of did my research on Stroud, I kind of understand why they got him, especially with Robert Saleh coming back, the type of defense they're going to run. Lenore is going to come outside. I'm not too sure how that's going to pan out yet. But Lenore and Green are going to kick outside. Stroud's going to be that. He's going to be playing in the slot. He's going to be the jam him up. He's going to blitz. He's going to play the run. Same thing. He's going to contain the edge. He's going to be that little Swiss Army knife in the defense. Someone that just gets up in the slot guy's face and just tries to make his life hell. Jamming him at the line, bumping him off his routes, disrupting the middle of the field, and then coming down and being able to lay the wood. Pause. Being able,
Liquid Death
being able to
sponsor
come,
us.
being able to come down and just make the
Oh my
tackle, make the
God,
hit. The
bro.
Niners had what?
Lay the wood and then come down. That's insane. This is going to be age restricted now,
Come down.
pal.
Anyways,
Anyways,
Upton Strout's a baller. He's 5'8", 180. I'm not really concerned about his height and his weight. DJ Reed is a great cornerback in the NFL, and he's like 5'9", 5'8 and a half. Kawon Williams
he's that
is a very
short?
he's a very similar player. DJ Reed is not that tall. You
What the
can look
hell?
it up. He's not a very tall player. He's like 5'9".
I didn't know that.
I don't know how much he weighs, but the yeah, just look
Five
it
nine,
up.
one eighty
But
seven.
Upton Strout he's really similar to what Kawon Williams was for the Niners when they had that 2019 Super Bowl run, and he was playing that slot role where he would be able to come down, stop the run, blitz every once in a while, and just really make life hell for the slot corners in the middle of the field. Being able to help erase a side of the field with the boundary cornerback, I think Upton Strout's going to be able to do a good job of it. I think he might be a special teams guy to kind of start out. We're going to see obviously how the camp goes and stuff like that. But I really liked what the Niners did with those first five picks. Jordan Watkins, I think he has a lot of potential. I think he's going to be like a receiver 4 or 5, probably receiver 5. We don't know when Brandon Ayuk's going to come back. We don't know what this offense is going to look like with Robinson and Ricky and Jawan Jennings. So I think getting Watkins in here, he's another guy that's a rack receiver, yards after catch, yak guy, be able to take a couple hits and just extend plays. That's what 49ers like to do. They like guys that can take a slant and get an extra couple yards. They like guys that can not just catch the ball and that's where the play ends. They like the guys that can obviously just make plays, and he's one of those guys. How he's going to pan out, I'm not entirely sure. I do know he's already bought into the Kyle Shanahan type of offense that because Old Miss, they run a similar model where if you don't block, you don't play. If anyone remembers the Brandon Ayuk rookie year and that year two stuff, if you don't block, you won't play. Jordan Watkins already kind of has that message, so I'm not really worried about that. I like the Jordan James pick. I'll be pretty quick on him. I think he's going to be a bell cow, or not a bell cow. I think he's going to just be a goal line running back. I think the Niners need to relieve some stress off McCaffrey. Garendo is going to play some snaps. When it comes to someone who's just going to play the goal line and just try to bully the way on 3rd and 1s or 3rd and inches, or just inside the 5 yard line, he's going to come in here and he's just going to be a touchdown machine. He's going to be one of those guys. I was a little bit intrigued on why we went safety in the 5th round with Single or with Singel. Obviously, it came out that Mustafa has an ACL tear. They actually hit it very well, and they hit it for a really long time. They're saying he's going to come back midseason. Mustafa's mom tweeted that he's going to come back week 1. Regardless, the Niners got some safety help just to overall help fill the void for him. I don't really think much of that pick more than just depth. He's probably going to be a guy who has potential starter ability. He's probably going to be on special teams in certain packages for the most of the time. And then obviously they took a quarterback. Can't hate on 7th round draft picks, baby, when we got Brock Purdy. Just saying, can't hate on him. I like the Colby pick. I was really shocked the Niners did not go offensive line. There was a couple picks where I really thought we were going to hit the offensive line. I was in the group chat like, oh, the Niners must have some really high grades on some day 3, day 2 tackles and guards. Like, I expect to kind of see them now. Like, we're probably going to start seeing some guys like they probably really think they can get good value. Never came. But I like the Colby pick. I think he's going to be a practice squad type of player year 1. I think some injuries. If he has a really good camp, we might be able to see him on the 53-man roster and see him potentially get some play. He definitely has the size of an NFL player, just if he can put it all together. And then overall, our last pick with Junior Bergen, I think he's just going to be someone that they use in special packages for speed. He's going to be a special teams type of guy, punt return, kick return. Just try to bring some juice to a really lacking special teams team. I love the Niners draft. I know there were some people that think they reached. Some of the picks are a little bit unorthodox, but I think what the Niners were able to do in this draft was to get 3 or 4 guys that are going to be impact day one starters that are going to play on this defense. And considering how much they lost in the free agency, to be able to kind of fill the void, I really like what they did. I'm a big fan of it. You look like you don't like it, but
I mean,
I was a big fan of what the Niners were able to do. I'm very excited to see this revamped, new young defense. I'm excited to see what they can do.
I just most of the picks are Robert solid picks. So right now on paper they're not sexy. They don't look great. Give it 2 years, they're gonna fit his system. I think this draft ages well. Shanahan and Lynch, they do a killer job with hitting it there with the mid picks. I love the CJ West pick. Like I know you and Blake had texted, and I said, dude, he was the best player on Indiana's defense last season. I think he's going to be a hell of a player.
Oh,
He's
I
going to
missed the
stop the
CJ.
run.
I
I mean,
missed the CJ West. Yeah, CJ is another great pick.
I don't love Watkins, but I'm kind of an anti Ole Miss guy. Besides their like defensive line, I like all the guys on that defensive line. Jordan James is good. I think he's going to fill that role you described perfectly. Just protect CMC, less goal line touches. Is he Bucky Irving 2.0? Absolutely not. But hey, maybe he could be.
I don't think so. No, I
Curtis
think he
Rourke.
can be very valuable.
Curtis Rourke. He's your Brock Purdy replacement. I keep joking with him saying, "Oh, you got your Brock Purdy replacement, so you don't got to pay him." No, Brock Purdy's
Yeah,
awesome.
they took Curtis Rokes or how do you say it?
Rourke.
Yeah, they took him so they don't have to pay Brock $50 million a year. Dude,
All in all,
people
though,
were on Twitter talking about the Niners were going to take Shedeur Sanders to pressure Brock Purdy
I
into
kept
making a
saying that.
deal.
I kept saying that too.
I kept seeing it and I was like, dude, I'd lose my mind. But overall, I was a big fan of the Niners draft. A lot of starting caliber players, a lot of talent that can come in day one and impact a defense that lost almost everything. I think they completely revamped their D line. They helped out. They helped out in every position. They got secondary help. They got a linebacker. They got linebacker help, and they completely just revamped the defense. Aside from Nick Bosa, I think we're going to see a lot different of a team than we saw last year in terms of stopping the run. Will these guys be able to turn into good or premier pass rushers? I don't know. I think if one guy's going to turn into premier pass rusher, it's going to be Williams. Is West and Martin and all of them and Collins going to turn into guys that can really rush the quarterback at a high rate? I'm not entirely sure. Are these guys going to come into the NFL though and be able to stop the run and have an impact in football games? I 100% believe that. And I think that's what the Niners need. They need guys that come in and play.
Yep, a lot of good running backs in
I
the
give it.
division.
I would give the Niners draft a B. I think they did reach on a couple picks. I think they didn't get the best value with some guys, but the Niners, they know how to draft linebackers. They don't really miss in these later rounds. Honestly, I gotta just give the Niners what they were able to do since Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch came on board. What they've been able to do, I gotta just put my faith into them. I think it was a solid B plus draft.
Yeah, guys. So thank you for watching this little draft recap, going over our winners, losers, surprises, and going over our teams' grades. We have the whole 32 team grades on TikTok. If you guys want to check that out, like I said, link in the description. Me and Darick will be making a little bit more TikTok content later this week for you guys to check out. Any of that will be also attached. This video will come out before any of that goes up. But yeah, just want to thank you guys for watching. Go ahead, leave a comment. Once Blake gets back, we're going to do a badass video going over a whole bunch of fantasy stuff because something all three of us are really excited about. That's kind of our specialty. We all love fantasy football. But yeah, just like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and share the video. Check out our socials. And thank you for watching. We'll come at you with our normal Bad Takes video back in the studio here in a couple of days.